welcome back to the Cover 3 podcast here on CBS Sports. That's Tom Fornelli. That's Danny Kanell. I'm Chip Patterson coming to you live at youtube.com/cover3 and everywhere you get your podcasts on demand. Thanks for hanging out. Smash that subscribe, smash that like, and come and join us in the chat, aka the Cover 3 tailgate, where our friend Coach K33 at 8:55 a.m. He showed his parking pass. He pulled up in the tailgate, and he wanted to continue some of our conversation on the NFL Draft Combine. Of course, our Cover 3 Combine preview hit yesterday. Wherever you get your podcast, go check it out if you haven't gotten a chance. Our apologies to Abdul Carter. We called him a generational talent, and he needed a generational.
No, we didn't.
You're going to say that we're not responsible for his foot strain.
No, but we also did not call him a generational talent.
Oh, that's right. We called Travis Hunter the generational
That's right.
talent. Okay. Coach K33 says, if you could add one drill to the combine, what would it be?
NFL insider fights.
Oh.
Was that real or was that a joke? I couldn't tell if it was a joke.
I have photos. It was very real.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
In a Starbucks?
In the Starbucks at the Marriott.
Yeah, right where I've gotten coffee
there
from that Starbucks. I mean, it's kind of a high traffic area. Like there's, it's where you're walking to the.
It's where all the tunnels are to get place to place. Like when you get up the escalators there. Yeah. Have you ever been to that Marriott, Chip?
No, because we stayed at the Westin our last two trips to Indianapolis, and I only in the Big Ten championship trip figured out how to get from the stadium to the Westin all using the tunnels.
Yeah.
But when I was in the tunnels, I saw the arrows to there's like a tunnel to the Omni and tunnel to the Marriott. So, man, you is it soft that they were fighting at a Starbucks?
That's the way
it's
I feel.
It's soft that they didn't actually throw down. Like it's soft that they just verbally accosted each other. That's what's soft. I need to see some punches thrown.
They say that nobody wins a fight. That is a lie. A lot of people have won fights and a lot of people have lost fights. But it is true that nobody has ever won a fight in a Starbucks, because if you're fighting in a Starbucks, you're just, come on.
You're not a winner.
No, go out to the street or something. Don't fight in a Starbucks.
Man, juicy stuff.
You know what drill I would add? I love this drill. It's not even drill. It's more of a game, but I would definitely have the QBs do it. The garbage can toss, so you bring like the big industrial garbage. I mean, we used to do this at the end of every practice, and whether it was in college, we did it just for bragging rights. When you get to the NFL, you might put a little money on it, but you place a garbage can in the end zone, kind of in that corner, and you start off maybe at the 5, and you see if you can put a little touch on it, see if you can get it in the bucket, and then you start moving it back, and you just keep throwing, and then keep track, see how many times you could drop it in the bucket. It's a great drill. I mean, I think it's a great indicator of accuracy, touch. You get bonus points if somehow it stays in the bucket, because that's another huge get. There's some luck in that, but I think that the garbage can toss would be my recommendation. That would be my drill I would add to the combine.
Of course, I initially thought you were talking about tossing garbage cans.
Hey, you know what you could do? You could add that to it. Fill them up with, you'd have to do little buckets, like the paint, like the 1 or 2 gallon paint buckets. And then you could do heave them backwards like they do, Do
you remember way back in the day, the NFL Quarterback Club Challenge, where they would have the motorized things with the targets on it going, and the quarterbacks would throw in the with chalk on the ball to see where they hit the target for points? I would love to see that at the combine for the quarterbacks. To me, that would be far more interesting than most of the drills they have these guys running. And then another one that I would actually want, it's one that we have drafted before, players for. I would love to see an Oklahoma drill at the combine. They'll never do it for obvious reasons, but I would absolutely love to see that. They do it at the Senior Bowl and stuff like that. Do it at the combine.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Whatever you do, do not Google and find my quarterback challenge. Whatever you do, do not go find it.
Oh, now I know what I'm doing this afternoon.
I was not prepared. I was kind of hey, this is one big goof around session. Let's just have fun. Go slow. Phil Simms is breaking me down. Kanell's going too slow, too lackadaisical. He's got to pick it up. He's got to go game day speed. Awful.
So you brought we're doing a social media video with Liz. This is about personality, right?
Yeah.
Phil Simms is no, this is about being a winner.
put
Jim
it in the
Harbaugh's
chat,
out
but you
there
should see
the
what
day
Schefter just
before
tweeted.
running through the drills, like out there on the obstacle course practicing it. I'm out in the golf course. So I don't even want to. That's enough.
Tailgate suggests pie eating contest. Who wants it more? Really see the internal drive of
You
some of
got to
these
do
guys.
that after weigh-ins, though. You can't do it before.
Yeah, that's true. Everybody's trying, or before.
For certain players, yeah.
For certain players, yeah, the pie eating contest before would be fantastic. All right. It is a Thursday. We are getting interactive. That means we've got a lot of questions, more than a dozen, or comments that we'll be able to highlight from the tailgate. We appreciate everybody who came in, got the conversation started early. We do have questions from the big old bag of mail, including that one right off the top that you see in the headline of the episode, because whenever you get a hypothetical, it's always going to be a little bit fun. But when you get a hypothetical that is also tied to one of college football's great rivalries, well, that's about as good as it's going to get. So we will hit the Michigan and Ohio State hypothetical here in just a little bit. Let's continue here with a conversation about one of their rivals, Penn State. So Crescent said, Bucknuts referred to James Franklin as Bo Pelini on steroids. Ugh. What are the odds that Franklin is gone in 3 years if they don't beat Michigan, Ohio State, and Oregon in that time frame?
I don't think that's an apt comparison.
Bo Pelini?
Yeah, I kind of get it.
I get where he's coming from.
9 wins.
Yeah, but I don't know. James Franklin's won more than 9 games in a season.
Yes.
It's I don't think so. I mean, maybe I don't think he gets fired.
Right.
Maybe he leaves. So that would impact the odds.
I mean, they're going to make the playoffs again, which again, I think is a big boon for them. Like, that's huge for the fan enthusiasm. It helps James Franklin's resume, but the record against top 5 teams, eventually he's going to face another one. That's what he's got to beat. That's why I brought up Michigan, Ohio State, Oregon. I think he'll put, they've been getting closer. I mean, even last season, they play them pretty tough and they're close. They just need to get one. And then I think they could be, challenging them on a yearly basis, which they're already doing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that Penn State will win a Big Ten title in the next 3 years?
No, because that's really hard to do.
Too many teams? Danny?
I'll say yes, but I'd say it almost feels like it has to be this year.
Like you've got to do it right now with your quarterback, with all the returning talent, with the fact that you made it all the way to the semifinals last year. Like this
addition of Jim Knowles, you got your quarterback back. Ohio State loses everybody. Michigan's breaking in a freshman quarterback. Oregon's replacing a quarterback. Like, everybody else has some question marks. You don't have many. This is the year they've got to do it.
I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
So next week, I've been tasked with writing the first edition of the offseason quarterback power rankings.
Ooh.
Who would you have at number 1 right now?
Yeah, you know who.
Arch?
No.
Thomas
he hasn't played enough. Come on. This isn't even a question.
Carson?
No.
Drew Aller?
Cade Klubnik should be QB1 coming in.
No. These are my quarterback power rankings.
Oh, my God.
Cade Klubnik will not be number 1 in my quarterback.
Go back and watch what he did to Texas's defense. Come back to me.
Go back and watch what he did against Louisville's defense. I mean, it's just like...
All right.
Big steps forward.
Who else would you say is in consideration? Has your mind at least drifted to who's going to be there?
I mean, it's hard because there really aren't a lot of experienced guys coming back that you would think. So, like,
Mateer.
But it's names like that where it's like, okay, are they really the number 1 quarterback in the country? Like Carson Beck, Cade Klubnik, Drew Aller. It's like, do I really want to put those guys at 1? Like Arch, I think, has an actual stronger case to be 1 than those just because of the hype around him, and that's part of the process.
I'd agree with that. All right, it's time. Coming up on the other side, we're going to play the hypothetical game. If the 2023 title game Michigan faced off against the 2024 title game edition of Ohio State, who you got? All that and more next.
The clock never stops. Relive the greatest moments with uninterrupted highlights and more.
It's Gareth Bale! Ronaldo! Wonderful goal!
On the UEFA Champions League channel. Streaming free.
Some suggestions. Lenora Sellers, Nussmeier. Yeah.
That's see my point though. Like last year it wasn't very difficult for me to figure out who the number one would be at this time of year. This year, I have no idea who number one should be.
Yep. All right. We always appreciate when you all reach out, when you want to keep the conversation going. That's why on Thursdays we open up the big old bag of mail. This one actually was submitted to Tom, and it took me a hot minute to find it, scrolling through all of our college basketball live plays. So we got there eventually, but here's the question. If 2023 title game Michigan faced 2024 title game Ohio State, who you got? I was specific in that neither one has won the title yet, so Michigan is undefeated and just outlasted Alabama. That obviously means Zinter is out. Ohio State has had the sting of losing to Michigan on November 30th, but they just outlasted Texas. But the same injuries apply with Josh Simmons and Seth McLaughlin. Do the results change at all with a healthy offensive line? Does it even matter based on how good both defensive lines are? I'll go ahead and say it. The game would absolutely, all caps, rock to watch. The amount of draft picks on the field at a given time would be insane. I was also curious about what the power ratings would have said and made about the game as well. Let's assume neutral site in Indy. Second half live under on Illinois, Wisconsin. Oh, sorry, that was something else. That was the next message. So what we got? What do we think?
Under.
Yeah.
Man, I think I'd give the nod to 23 Michigan. I mean, 24 beat them.
That's
you
like,
know, it's like,
yes.
How can we and I get it. Like they were a different team and they looked like they lit fire in the playoffs, but they would have to stop a better run game and a better, more physical team. They still have to face the tough defense that they couldn't move the ball against. Like, I think it has to be the nod would have to go to Michigan.
The problem I have here is both of these offensive lines are getting the hell beat out of them for
all
3.5 hours in this game.
Yeah.
So it's going to come down to which offense you trust to actually make a play despite their offensive line. And I look at the 2023 Michigan team, and I think they have the advantage at quarterback with J.J. McCarthy over Will Howard. But where else do you feel like that offense has an advantage at the skill positions against Ohio State?
None. But didn't Colston Loveland have a couple big plays against Alabama?
Yeah.
And they were kind of outside the pocket. They got a little bit creative with JJ, and he's pretty mobile, so he could get out of trouble.
So I'll give you Loveland over Ohio State's tight ends like G. Scott, who came on at the end of the year, but is not nearly as good as Colston Loveland.
Well, he got sort of schemed into better opportunities based on all the attention that was on Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah, but you look at Ohio State's receivers compared to Michigan's, it's not even close. So it's like we're one Jeremiah Smith play away from Ohio State winning this game. And I think defensively, both of these teams would dominate the game. And I think one touchdown might win it. Honestly, that's the whole thing. So,
but they were one Marvin Harrison Jr. play away from
Jeremiah Smith's better than Marvin Harrison Jr. I would go Ohio State. I know how the argument will be 2024 Michigan beat them. How could you say that? I'm saying in this scenario, it's a power rating. Ohio State would be favored.
I see. This is what I went back to. They are both, according to College Football References SRS, they're both 25s. Like Ohio State at the end of the 2024 season was a 25.5 and Michigan was a 25.1. And the market would take Ohio State, but it would be like an Ohio State -1 type thing, I believe, at least in terms of like the overall power ratings.
Now, do we have signals or not? Like, what are we?
All right, so here we go. Now, so right off the top at 8 a.m., Depends.
He's right.
Michigan cheating or not? I mean,
Great minds think alike.
is Stallions on the sidelines or is he not on the sidelines? I don't know.
Sidelines, that's a good question. Is it Harbaugh or Moore?
It's Harbaugh. That's what I think. If it's 2023,
Oh, well, then it's definitely Ohio State because it was Moore who beat Ohio State the year before.
boo. No. I don't like.
Jim Harbaugh coaching negative? Let's discuss.
No, absolutely not. So I like this one. Ohio State would be the betting favorite, but Michigan still finds a way to win.
Certainly plausible, yeah.
And then in actual ball breakdown, Michigan's defensive line, which again was just like had even more draft. That defense had even more draft picks on it. That team had 13 players selected in the NFL draft. Some of them on the defensive side as well. Ryan says Michigan's defensive line would have made the difference. He says Michigan 20, Ohio State 13.
Yeah, I could see the score being similar to that. But again, I think Ohio State's favored. So I would say Ohio State would win more often than Michigan. Like that, you can look at the results, and Michigan's won them. But if you play the game 100 times, does Michigan win those games more than 50 of them? I think in 2023 against 2023 Ohio State, yes. Against 2024 Ohio State, no.
And is that the difference being Quinshon Judkins, Jeremiah Smith, like just sort of these like superstars? Because I'm not ready to say that in moving from Kyle McCord to Will Howard, I'm not going to say plus or minus either way in my thought on Ohio State.
Yeah, Ohio State's secondary was much better in 2024 than it was in 2023. The pass rush was about the same. Now, does Chip Kelly call regular plays, or are they trying to be big, strong, tough guys? Because that's the thing. Like, if we go back to that game this year, which Michigan won, if Ohio State plays to its strengths, does Michigan have a chance in that game?
Well, they were 17-point underdogs.
That's what I'm saying. But Ohio State played the kind of game Michigan needed them to play to have a chance to win. So I don't know.
Yeah, Chip might make a big difference.
Yeah, if you're getting Jim Harbaugh still on, and you're getting the rest.
See here, okay, hold on. I just want to point. That's used as a stat to say why Michigan would win. That's the stat of why Michigan wouldn't. That is an outlier. That is not the typical response or result of that meeting.
What
that Michigan won with 62 yards passing. That's how you know it's an outlier result. That shouldn't have happened.
Right, but he's saying J.J. McCarthy. The point being J.J. McCarthy would have more than 6. They would have better quarterback play.
No, I understand. I'm just using that to defeat the argument. Well, if 2024 Michigan won, of course 2023 Michigan would win. They're separate events.
Danny, have you made a call one way or the other?
Oh, I'm saying Michigan 23.
Michigan 23.
Yeah.
Bet.
I don't see how I mean, I get you can make the argument that Chip adds them, but I do think there's validity. That defense was better than it was this year, which they shut them down with Chip Kelly calling the plays. So I think it would be a lower scoring game. And I do think that offense, I mean, there's still the question of physicality. How do they match the physicality? And that's been the struggle for Ohio State, that they still haven't done it against Michigan.
But see, again, this is like we're looking too close at the Michigan aspect of this, which obviously it's a game between these teams. We're looking at it, but who did Ohio State beat after that Michigan loss? They beat Oregon. They beat Tennessee. They beat Oregon. They beat Texas. They beat Notre Dame. 4 teams that are all vastly superior to the Michigan team this year. That game was a freak result. It was not indicative of what the Ohio State team was in 2024, which was a better team than 2023 Michigan. That's it. That's what it comes down to.
23 Michigan did beat Bama.
They did, but Bama wasn't that good. Bama shouldn't have been in there. It should have been Florida State.
I agree with you there. I mean, you're preaching to the choir now.
But Michigan's performances against Penn State, Ohio State, Alabama, and the fact that while as the question noted, Zinter would be out, they were not as banged up as Ohio State was at the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
They were a healthier team. But
that offensive line was very banged up.
Yeah, both offensive lines just get destroyed in this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it is definitely nobody's scoring more than 20 points.
Yeah.
Unless there's like multiple defensive touchdowns.
Which, with Caleb Downs and Will Johnson, we must entertain
and
is
Jack
possible
Sawyer.
on either
Can't forget
side.
that.
And Jack Sawyer, sure. I'm going to take I'm going to take Michigan.
That's fine.
2023 Michigan. Twin team was awesome.
It was. Nobody's denying that.
Yeah.
But you even said yourself, what was College Football Reference's rating score for both teams? Which one was better?
It was Ohio State by half a point.
Yeah. So there you go. That means they're going to win 51 out of 100 times.
Listen, we're about that 49. All right. You never know. Sharps are wrong 40% of the time. Numbers don't always know.
I just said they would win 49 of the 100 times, Ant.
So final call. Tom's on Ohio State. Danny and Chip going with Michigan there. Let's keep the conversation going with a question about, this is a little bit off topic. Richard, what's your favorite spring sporting event? Major League Baseball opening day, the Masters, the opening weekend of the NCAA tournament, Champions League final, Kentucky Derby, or more. So he's kind of got everything from March to May with this little, with this net that he's cast.
Well, I've only taken vacation days for one of those things.
The tournament?
Yeah. Remember that text I sent you guys yesterday that said I'm not going to be around for the Thursday, March 20th show?
Yeah.
Yeah, I took vacation days on the 20th and 21st.
Now, are you going somewhere or are you just doing it?
No, I'm just watching basketball. I'm not worried about the show or anything. I'm just going to sit at home in my robe and watch basketball for 15 hours.
It's really tough for me. I think there's two that are clear. Champions League final, I can't even tell you when it is, who's playing in it. I can't tell you anything on that one. Kentucky Derby is 2 minutes. I haven't been. Maybe it's a bucket list to go one day, but I've missed it and not cared. Major League Baseball opening day, it's cool, but for me, I'd probably lean the Masters because I'm a golf nut, and it does feel like, and especially in today's calendar, when you very rarely get the LIV guys and the PGA Tour guys together, I think it adds a little bit more juice to it. It's kind of the kickoff of spring, and I love the NCAA tournament, and you do get 4 days straight, which is awesome, of great basketball, great content, but I'll lean slightly towards the Masters.
Yeah, I really enjoy all of these options that Richard shared with us. I would say opening weekend is 1, Masters is 2. MLB opening day I love because I love baseball, but the opening day part of it is just, it's like, it's here. It's like I've still got 6 more months of baseball to watch. So
161 more.
Yeah, whereas like the NCAA tournament and the Masters are very much like this is like the Masters is a 4-day thing. The tournament's a couple of weeks, but it's 10 to 12 days. So I think those two are high, and then I would put the Champions League above the Kentucky Derby, which I enjoy, but it's just one event.
What's the best day of the Masters?
Saturday, usually, I think.
Ooh,
it's a great call. I mean, like, there are amazing Sunday afternoons that are going to make you want to say Sunday, and just sort of especially the rhythm of a golf major when you have an incredible final back 9 with, you've got like, this is happening on 13, this is happening on 16, and everything's sort of going all at once. Xander at the PGA last year, knowing that he has to make a birdie, all of a sudden he winds up right there by that bunker. Like that. Sundays are great. I like the Saturday call though, because the moving day aspect of it and the way that it sort of sets everything up for Sunday is pretty awesome.
Yeah, because like on Saturday, the cuts happen, so you've gotten rid of a lot of the guys who really aren't contending, but there are still a lot of people still in the running to win it. Whereas by the time Sunday comes around, you might have a great finish, but you're usually down to 2 or 3 people that have a real shot.
I like Sunday. Subtle flex. I was at the Masters when Tiger won in 2018 on Saturday. On the Saturday. Saturday is a good one to watch.
Yeah.
Flex, I played the Masters in 2015. I didn't make the cut though.
Did you really?
No.
Oh.
Man, I started golfing a year
I thought you
and a half
meant
ago.
they played the course like in the Monday after media thing. I was like, you hit the lottery? Wait, because they actually do that with people that cover it. You can put your name on there and get on.
It was 2019. So you got there before the weather did, because that's like the one I would never, ever, ever try to discredit one of like the sport of golf's most amazing moments, Tiger Woods winning the 2019 Masters. But it maybe speaks to his greatness that it was early tee times, threesomes, split tees, like just kind of like chaos all across the place as they're trying to get it in before those thunderstorms hit.
And it was hot. leading into it. It was hot, which helped him get ready, get warmed up, get his back, everything going. Because I remember I watched Phil Mickelson for a couple holes, and I was like, he looks gassed. Like, it was hot.
Like Frankie's hitting it in the water, like Finau's melting down, Xander's off, and it's like there's only one person who can like last through the chaos at Augusta National right now, and it's one of the best ever played there. So for the record, I'll weigh in. Give me the opening weekend of the NCAA tournament, because by the end of it, you're like, oh, that was amazing. Need a cigarette. And like you need a little bit of time just because it's a little bit of a bleed over from conference tournament weekend too. Like those two are kind of like one season, then you reset and re-rack for the Sweet 16, Elite 8, and the Final Four.
And it is strange how, because you get such the adrenaline rush of the Thursday, Friday, where it's nonstop action for the entire day, that even Saturday and Sunday, when there's still a ton of games, it feels slow. Because it's like, wait, there's not 4 games going on at all times that I can watch.
Now, if you gave me the choice of either going to Augusta to watch or going to Las Vegas and watching the first round, I might choose Vegas to watch March Madness. I've done it a couple times. It's pretty cool.
So I've heard a little insider tip for the Cover 3 tailgate and everybody listening at home. Our buddy Todd Furman is big on the conference tournament week is actually the superior week because there's also live conference tournaments in Vegas. So you could be in the sports book watching the Big East and the Big Ten and everything else, but then you've also got, West Coast Conference or, Big 12 is normally in Kansas City, but like there's usually one, if not 2 conference tournaments. So you could walk to go watch live conference tournament action, go back to the sports book, and then be able to get in action on all the rest of them too.
Pac-12 used to play in Vegas.
Pac-12 used to play in Vegas, but maybe they'll be back for sure. And then obviously the Champions League final. We'll make sure Danny knows where it is. We'll do a whole Champions League final preview into watching it on America's Most Watched Network, the Network of Stars, CBS.
I know I can't get Bud, but I really want to get Danny into soccer.
Do you think it's possible?
I think it is. I think Danny's more open-minded. Yeah.
I could get into it with her.
Speaking of, this was another comment. Said, I saw DK's tweet about travel ball, saw recent comments about basketball becoming an upper middle class rich kid sport due to the cost. The question is, does football ever become like that? So Danny, if you want to give a little context here for context here for the comment, what's the travel schedule looking like right now for travel ball?
So I haven't experienced youth sports since I was a youth, right? And now I have kids. My oldest have always played sports, and they started, rec leagues, little league, t-ball, church league basketball, whatever it was. But I would say once they got to the age of about 10, I have been blown away at the big business of youth sports. Like we have big pharma, we have big tech, we have big youth sports. Like in case nobody knows, it is insane, the travel requirements. And I do think football will go down that avenue because people are realizing parents are willing to pay this. And so then it does become an access issue where if your kid isn't playing travel baseball, if they're not playing travel volleyball, if they're not playing potentially 7-on-7 travel football, they're not going to get the exposure that parents think they need. And so they'll keep throwing money at it. They'll keep sending them all over the country. And it's going to eventually become that. It already has. I mean, it is one massive money maker. I could do a whole podcast on the issues that youth sports are facing right now. I don't think any of it's good for the actual players themselves. But the nature of my tweet was, in a span of 2 months, I'll travel to, I've already been to Kansas City. I'm going to Orlando this weekend, Louisville the following weekend. 2 weekends after that, I'm going to Indianapolis. I'll go to Dallas. And if we win again, we'll end up going back to Dallas a second time. Not to mention for youth soccer, I might have to go to Fort Worth for another soccer tournament. We've already been to Jacksonville for that 2 weeks ago. It's the amount of travel. And when I was a kid, travel meant you took like a road trip to Orlando.
Drive. Yeah.
3-hour drive. That was it.
Yeah.
Or maybe like Miami or across the coast of Florida. We did not ever get on an airplane. Maybe like once or twice throughout 4 years of high school to get on an airplane to play a sport. And it's just, it's out of control.
I never had more than a 3-hour car ride to a game.
Right. And maybe like high school for the state championship because, you know,
Right.
go to the land, you know.
But I think football is not like that unless you are a skill player or a quarterback. Right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's going to keep trending that way towards everybody.
Okay.
Because that's just, I mean, look at that's just the way it all works.
But like the physical toll, we cannot be having linemen going out for one of those like at a 7-on camp or a 7-on competition where you're going to play 3 or 4 7-on-7 games in a day. I mean, you cannot be having linemen crashing into each other, tackling to the ground, sort of the aspects of that in the same way where you're going to be able to mobilize a whole AAU team.
Yeah, no, maybe not in like a 7-on-7 camp environment, but I'm telling you, there will be camp environments for linemen. You just gave somebody an idea right now.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I should have sent you this to the group chat. This is from February 2nd. This is a video. I thought this had Tom Fornelli written all over it. He would have loved this. So I took this video. This is at a park. I was playing soccer. I don't know if you guys can see it. So that's a personal trainer working with 2 offensive linemen doing pass sets. So, like, if your question is, do you think the money's only for skill positions? They're getting personalized trainers for offensive linemen now. Personal coaching.
Those kids look 9, 11.
Yeah, they're big, but you can tell they're the big kids.
Yeah,
you know, they were probably like 12 or 13. They were a little bit bigger, but they were younger. And this guy was out there working them up, and I'm sure it was probably $50 for an hour, maybe $80. You know
what I'm doing this afternoon.
What, training, like opening up
pass sets?
Starting myself a new offensive line training company.
Yeah,
it's Pancake Factory. Just steal the name from Texas.
There we go.
There we go.
Gonna walk around the neighborhood looking for big kids.
About youth sports?
Yeah. So I've done a couple things, dabbled in there.
Yeah.
Might have some things in the works too.
Might have to spread the word out here and share the experience that we've got. Coming up on the other side, we continue with a look. Where do Big 12 jobs rank in the hierarchy of college football? All that and more next.
I feel home when I see the faces that remember my own. When I'm with my friends, I feel home.
Back here on the Cover 3 podcast. This is from the Big Old Bag of Mail, where Caleb jumped in, gave us a 5-star review, and said, if every job in the country all opened up at once, how far down would the first Big 12 job be? And where would the top Big 12 job rank in other conferences?
Ooh.
From our prep from the doc, it looked like just rank the Big 12, like where they land. That was a little bit easier than this drill. You don't want to offend an entire conference.
Let's see. Let's just go
Well, what's the top job in the Big 12?
I don't know.
Wasn't it one of the Texas schools? Wouldn't it be?
You would think so, but like, I don't know. TCU, private, like you have, maybe you get the money. Houston, not really a ton of success, but you do feel like there is a better chance of acquiring the funds you're going to need. I don't know, man.
While it is very difficult,
UCF
and Utah both stood out to me. Like, they are new Big 12 jobs, but I mean, Utah has had the consistency established by Kyle Whittingham, and obviously he took over after Urban Meyer left, but that is a long run of Utah being at the same level where your floor is extremely high. And we know that Kyle Whittingham is planning his exit. He's planning his succession. I just think the infrastructure that's been built in Salt Lake City around keeping Utah football a winning thing is something that has to be attractive. For UCF, you've got Orlando, and you've got a lot of want to, within trying to make sure that this is a successful football program. I could hear TCU, and if our boy T-Boone was still around, RIP, I mean, maybe Oklahoma State, but I don't know that. I think that the window might have opened and shut in terms of Oklahoma State being a top 25 program.
That's right. Texas Tech has the money coming in now too. I mean, their facility they just built, $240 million thrown into there. We talked about their former player who's funding the NIL, throwing money at the school, and trying to build up the program. I don't think I'd put it in that top 3 or 4 though. Right below it.
To kind of put it all into somewhat of a perspective here, Bill Connolly, our friend, he just released the early SP Plus ratings for this season. You guys want to guess what the highest rated Big 12 team is?
33.
No.
41.
Nope. No, it's 19.
Oh, okay.
Arizona State?
No, it's Kansas State. And then TCU at 26 and BYU at 27. Like the Big 12 has, let's see, they have 8. He said he broke it down to number of teams within 7 points of the best team in the conference, 8 in the Big 12. No other conference has more than 5. But that just goes to what we've talked about, where the entire damn league is pretty much the same. It's a very hard question to answer, especially now. In a few years, it might be much more clear. Like if the money that keeps flowing, maybe we start seeing some teams separate from others in that kind of aspect. But I don't know, man.
Kansas State has the same, I guess, appeal where it's just been built up. And if all of a sudden every single job were open, you just know that all the staffers and all the fans and all the boosters, everybody knows how to get this thing going in the right direction. Texas Tech is a little bit more, we're just getting it up and going. Are any of them in the top 20?
As far as jobs I would take right now?
Yeah.
Or any coach would take. I don't think so.
Well, like let's go over it by school then. Like in the SEC, tell me which one of the tell me when to stop when I list a school whose job you wouldn't take ahead of a Big 12 school. Texas, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, LSU, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Florida, Missouri, Oklahoma, Auburn, Kentucky.
I think I'd take it over Kentucky and Vanderbilt. Yeah.
Mississippi State?
No, yeah, stop.
Okay, so there's 13 schools I listed before we got to one you would take a Big 12 team on.
And you didn't do the Big 10 yet.
Yeah.
Which is easily another 7, at least.
And then the ACC schools, the Miamis, the Clemsons, the Florida States. It's like, yeah, I mean, yeah.
I would take the top Big 12 schools, which again, very, very difficult to try to figure out which one it would be. But I would take that ahead of the bottom 4 of the SEC and maybe the bottom 5 or 6 of the Big 10.
My counter argument to that, though, if I take the Auburn job,
I'm gonna get fired.
No, regardless of that, it's just going to be really difficult for me to win.
Yeah.
In the long term, I might have a great season, but it's going to be really difficult for me to build a consistent program. So if I'm looking at it from the angle of I can go there and win, there are a lot of jobs in the Big 12 where I would look at and say I have a better chance of winning there than I do at this SEC school, because there is no defined tier at this point. So I think if you look at it from that angle, some of these jobs are probably more attractive than SEC and Big 10 jobs. It's just I don't think there's a specific school. I think it's just an opportunity you would have to look at.
Yep, that's fair. All right, let's turn our attention back to the tailgate. Nate asks, would you rather have Oregon or Notre Dame's 2024 season? Now, Oregon had bigger wins in the regular season and no Northern Illinois loss, but did not have the playoff run that Notre Dame had. I mean, they didn't have a playoff run that lasted more than a quarter. But Notre Dame, if you say Notre Dame because of playoff success, then what about Oregon versus Penn State? So let's start with Oregon, Notre Dame. Nate's question. Would you rather have had Oregon's 13-0 Big 10 title, undefeated regular season? Okay.
Yes, all day long. What are you champions of, Notre Dame? Fireball shots? What are you champions of? Join a conference, dang it. Of course it's easy. It's absolutely Oregon season.
I hope you don't run into any Notre Dame fans in a Starbucks anytime soon, Danny.
I think it speaks to what I've been frustrated about the college football playoff, that the the taste in the mouth of an Oregon fan has really ruined an amazing season.
Yeah. And I think I'm taking Notre Dame because if I'm Oregon, I had the undefeated season. I won the Big Ten, but I've been in the Big Ten for 20 minutes. Winning the Big Ten really isn't that important to me at this point. I was looking at myself as a team that could win the national title. And then I got screwed by the way that the playoff format works. And then I get Ohio State in my freaking first game, a team I've already played, by the way. So it's like they have that kind of advantage. Plus, they're really effing good. At least if I'm Notre Dame, I had the excitement of the playoff run. I was able to kind of end some narratives. Like there's been a whole lot of talk about how Notre Dame can't compete with certain schools. Well, guess what? I beat Georgia.
Yeah, and
then I went and I beat Penn State.
Yeah.
And then it's like, so yeah, I lost in the end, but I think overall I had more games to watch and I had more moments where I could just give people the double bird and say, F you, look what I just did.
Again, it speaks to my disappointment of the impact of the expanded playoff that Oregon's 13-0, you know what you were? You just got beat by Fairleigh Dickinson. You just got beat by UMBC. Congrats on being the number 1 overall seed. Like you were.
No, but that's the way to whoa. They lost to the eventual national champion who they already beat. They split with them this season.
I don't know that the way that game went when it was.
They did not lose to Northern Illinois. That's losing to UMBC. That is losing to Fairleigh Dickinson.
But to Tom's point, it is not just that they made it to the title game. It was the path where they literally were the first ever on-campus playoff game. Snow falling over South Bend. The place is packed out and going bananas. Then you go and you beat Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. Then you go and you beat Penn State
without their quarterback
with like walk-off fashion. Like,
and you beat Bo Pelini.
Georgia, you beat Georgia and Penn State on the way to making it to the title game. It was that's gonna have way more satisfaction, I think, for Notre Dame fans.
I will say, at least if you're an Oregon fan, like you have the I got screwed. Like it, the thing you could fall back on for the offseason. Yeah. Just it's like, whereas Notre Dame, there's no question you weren't the best team in the country, even though you got to the title game, because you lost in the end to the best team in the country. And while Oregon lost to Ohio State, they could at least argue they shouldn't have had to play him in that game. Damn it.
So Oregon will get rings. They'll get Big Ten championship rings.
They will.
What does Notre Dame get?
$20 million.
Amen to that.
I'm pretty sure
whatever they want.
I am fairly certain the powers that be at Notre Dame will buy rings for this team. They will get some.
What will they say?
College football playoff.
They will say
national runner-up.
Amazing, incredible people. Fine Catholics, even if they're not.
Yeah. That is not.
I want a ring that just says "Damn fine Catholic."
Damn fine Catholic.
I'm a DFC.
What about the Oregon versus Penn State? I'd rather be Oregon there.
Yeah, they already beat them too.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, well, Penn State beat SMU, and it goes back to like who you beat in the playoff run. Penn State beat SMU in Boise, and that's where I'm not giving you as many bonus points for the fact that you made it to the semifinals and that Oregon won the head-to-head in the Big Ten title game in an awesome back and forth, good test of both teams. I would rather be the Ducks with those Big Ten title rings, I think, than playoff semifinalist participant.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's go here. Oh, this one's Garrett Kennedy says Texas A&M is now 0-3 since Matt Norlander came on and called them a fraud on this podcast. He said, Tom, I know what I must do, but I love my dog.
Yeah, well, how much do you love your basketball team? I mean, what do you love more? You have to make that decision. I can't tell you what to do, but if you really cared, bye-bye Poochie.
By the way, have you seen their schedule? There's a really good chance they lose 5 in a row.
Yeah, because they got Florida and Auburn up next. They should beat LSU to finish the regular season. So
My belief in Texas A&M has been tested and it's been broken. I'm out. I'm off the train. I was on the train. You give me a team that just makes life absolutely hell on the opponent and rebounds well. I was like, yeah, I can rock with that. This is it's been painful to watch it. So I'm out on Texas A&M.
I understand the importance of playing good defense, but I just feel like in this year's version of the SEC, you can't expect to have that much success if you can't score.
You got to make shots.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately that's what it's going to require here this year. Here we go. Will jumped in the tailgate about 9:26 a.m. Said, which team this year is going to still be in contention for a national championship, even with a mediocre quarterback, just like Notre Dame made it to the Natty with an okay Riley Leonard? I'll push back a little bit on that, but I think we can still entertain the question. I think Georgia, Oregon, and Illinois all could be in contention for a national. That's Will, not Chip, saying that. I don't think that Illinois has a mediocre quarterback.
Yeah, they got a pretty good quarterback.
Yeah.
Tom's got issues with his internet today, huh?
No.
They have there was also on ESPN was the returning production numbers. Illinois has, I think they have top 5 returning production coming back, including their QB. So yeah, I would say he's one of the better QBs in the Big Ten.
Arizona State was also up there. I noticed Clemson's number 1.
Yeah. They're up there in really good position. I also think, by the way, Sam Leavitt probably needs to be brought up into that quarterback conversation the way he finished the season when Tom was doing his list. We'll see if it does it. So I think, it'd still be TBD. So he's saying he thinks Gunnar Stockton's going to be mediocre. Dante Moore is going to be mediocre. And then I agree with you. I don't think Altmaier's mediocre. But I think you could have something really special with Dante Moore. He may not be mediocre.
So who would fall into that category where you're dealing with a bus driver and not a fighter pilot for a team that we're expecting to be among the better teams in the country this year?
I mean, if Michigan gets a little bit more out of Bryce Underwood, now he might have a ton of fanfare where it feels like he's the the guy that's the superstar stud, but I don't think they might. Would you describe JJ McCarthy as, he was good. He wasn't great. His numbers weren't great.
Third and JJ. He was awesome when they needed him to be awesome, but he did not come out and statistically dominate at all.
Yeah.
I agree.
That you like Illinois' chances to win the Natty? You like them. You love them.
I do. I think that they should be the favorite, considering everything that they have coming back and their schedule.
Do you think Miller Moss is a mediocre quarterback?
Yes,
I think
from what we've seen.
Jag plus.
Yeah.
But if Will's question is putting Riley Leonard as like a just drove the bus, did what he needed to do, and then everybody else around him was able to deliver, I would say Riley Leonard is better than Miller Moss. If Louisville is in the college football playoff in 2025, it is an entire team effort and sideline that has gotten them there. It is not necessarily just the individual excellence of their quarterback. So who else would you put there? Texas A&M if Marcel Reed?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Alabama's quarterback, depending on who it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. I just think the easy answer to this question is look for the teams that are very talented. That's really all you could, because that's the only way you can overcome not having a great quarterback.
It's just by having tremendous talent.
A great team. Yeah.
Iowa, who's been there almost every year. They're there in the conversation.
Gronowski.
For a Natty, though, too. That's what separates it.
Yeah.
They could be maybe in the mix for a surprise team for the Big Ten, but
I do expect they bounce back a little bit. I don't think they were. I know, stop me if you've heard this before, but they think they've upgraded at QB. They think the offense is going to be a bit more explosive this year.
Fireworks coming.
They're going to score 25 points a game.
When you've got Jeremiah Smith, it is impossible to have not impressive quarterback numbers, right?
Not impossible, no.
Yeah.
Unlikely.
Right. So I'm not going to say that Julian Sain or whoever the Ohio State quarterback is would categorize for that. So, I mean,
No.
Here's the funny thing about putting Georgia in there. To Tom's point, it's because you've got 20 NFL draft picks at all the other positions. And that's just not something, not everybody. Hey, I don't know if you knew this, but not everybody in the country recruits at a top 5 level year over year over year for a 7-year span. So it's not like it's even something that could end up happening along the way. But still, Will, we love it. We appreciate you jumping in and being a part of the conversation. All right. Who do we think? Joshua says the pod says Travis Hunter is the only once in a generation player in this draft class. If we were to look into the future, is there anybody who we think would get that prestigious title?
No.
Jeremiah Smith.
I think Jeremiah Smith's really good. I don't think he's once in a generation. Again, like a generation.
Yeah, I don't know. He's pretty special. Like, he could be the next Randy Moss.
Is he better than Jamar Chase? Is he better than Justin Jefferson? Is he better than all these guys?
At this point, with 1 year under his belt, I don't know. I have to go back and look at what those guys did their freshman year, but I would say off to projecting him that way.
I feel like there are 7 Ohio State receivers in the last decade who people would have said were once in a generation after their freshman year. I think that wide receivers are just getting a whole hell of a lot better. And it's like every year a new one comes along. And again, I think he's really, 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 really good. I think he might be their best one yet by far. I just don't know if I'm going to say he's once in a generation, because you look at the NFL right now, man, there are a lot of generational talents at wide receiver these days.
If he leaves Ohio State and we are ranking him ahead of all of the other Ohio State wide receivers, that's generational.
Yeah, I agree. And I just said really good when you're like not even close. Like, he's better, which I would agree. And Marvin Harrison Jr. So the thing about Travis
differing opinions on Marvin Harrison Jr.
I would say Travis Hunter is a once in a 50-year player.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, he's even more special than generation. I mean, you're just talking every 10, 15 years. We haven't seen that. So I don't know if we do see another one for another 50 years. I mean, unless he starts a trend and, young and players and coaches let players start going both ways, which I would love to see, then I don't know if we're going to see it for a while.
Who is the non-quarterback, non-offensive skill player who would any of those players even get a generational talent type nod?
You mean like Sue when he was at Nebraska?
Yeah, that's
won the Heisman.
That's what I'm trying to pull off the top of my head is like, who are those kinds of players that we have seen or potentially could see, into the future?
I don't see. Sue is somebody you could mention, but was Sue better than Aaron Donald? Or either of them better than Warren Sapp? So it's like,
I think that's the lineage.
Those are generations apart.
I think that they're generations apart. Yeah. Because Donald
Sue and
is
Aaron Donald are a generation apart.
Sue is early 2000s.
Generation is like what, 13 to 15 years?
I bet
Sapp's going back.
I bet. Let's see. What was Donald? Donald was 16, and Sue is early 2000s, or was Sue 2009?
Late 2009ish. Yeah,
about 8 years apart, half generation.
Not a generation.
Penei Sewell.
Orlando Pace. I mean, that's when I think of.
But Orlando Pace might actually be a generation away from Penei Sewell. I think you could make. Yeah, I think Penei Sewell's a decent shout out for that.
Yeah, our war with generational talent is now forcing us to define generations, and now we're having to draw lines in the sand and fight about this. Okay, we're trying to make it exclusive again.
Are you and our 20-year-old something colleagues at CBS Sports among different generations?
It feels like that.
Or are you a different generation than your parents?
According to AI, the generation is genuinely considered to be 20 to 30 years long.
Thank you, Daniel.
Generations,
parents, children, grandchildren, great. Those are generations. Not I was in 7th grade while you were in 3rd. That is not a generation.
No. When we talk to our Gen Z coworkers who were babies in 2001, like that feels like a generation apart.
You talk to them?
You don't talk to our coworkers?
I think Kenzie's the only Gen Z person I know.
You got to get in the Fort Lauderdale
Yeah,
office.
you got to get
Mark.
in the office.
No,
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to them kids. They
Okay.
got no idea what's going on.
I'm sure Mackenzie's ears are burning right now. She's
You
going
would
to
say Jalen Carter is a generational talent
No.
for
Very
her
good.
generation.
for her
Yeah.
generation.
But see, that's the thing. Their generation is the one that don't know what words mean.
They just make up new ones.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I know.
And they don't respect capital letters.
They are just yeeting the English language out of
For
here.
vowels.
No.
Move 'em.
Golf bros have taken vowels out of the English language
Oh yeah.
with their hats.
Yeah.
I didn't know when apparently vowels are just as frowned upon as shirts without
Yeah,
collars
hoodies.
at golf course. Yeah, or a hoodie. So because we got to take it all out. Yeah, okay. That's a good look right there. Oops.
That's a good question, Max.
Nah. Yeah, good job. Preston, if college football moves to an OTA model, what are your thoughts on having one preseason game against a regional opponent in lieu of spring games?
So the game would be in the spring?
No, I think it would be a preseason game and week -1. Like I think it would be. If we are moving towards the NFL, which everything indicates that we are, I think the OTA model is pushing back spring, practices to May or June, and really just working out in January, February, March, April, and just like having off-season workouts, doing May, June, and then I would say it wouldn't be shocked. I mean, we just talked about taking away a spring game. Well, here you go. You want a cheap option? We'll give you a preseason game that maybe looks like a scrimmage. Maybe it looks like the spring game used to.
I will say that I do not want this. I'm against this because if they have preseason games, we're going to have to talk about them. And
No. Okay. All right. Okay.
It's
How
like,
about?
I mean, let's look at the plus side of getting rid of spring games is we don't have to come on here and be like, what did we see from the spring games this weekend that really stood out? Like nothing stood out from any of these games.
Whoa, that's what we did every Monday in April for the last 3 years.
I know.
What are we going to do now?
Whoa, it's okay. We got Ben Simmons. It's okay. Yeah, right here. The stellar producer, Michael Bonavita, telling us CBS Sports HQ scoop. Travis Hunter will not participate in on-field drills at the Combine.
Not surprised at all.
That
Yeah,
is-
he's afraid.
Hey, Travis Hunter cannot be a
Third
generational
round.
talent if he's generationally scared to participate in the on-field drills at the Combine.
I would not take him with one of the first 9 picks of the draft after seeing this news.
It'd be great if he fell to 8.
Who do the Bears have?
10.
Someone-
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I guess I'm not surprised. So we're losing basically most of the top 5 to 10 most of the top 5 picks are not going to be a part of this, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's just the way it's been trending for a few years now.
Mm.
It's like you used to opt out of bowl games if you were going to the NFL draft. Now, once you're in the NFL draft, you opt out of the combine. Really, you just don't do anything for like 6 months. You show up at practice one day and you get back to work. That's how it goes now.
Boney coming through with a great comment and also a great reminder for us to plug that Ryan Wilson, Jonathan Jones, Pete Prisco, the whole group, they're on the scene in Indianapolis. It looks like they've got another just really well-furnished set from our good friends.
Looks familiar.
It looks very, very familiar from the last time that we were in Indianapolis. So I'm excited to
just
continue
kept it
to
in a
follow.
Closet.
Yeah, I'm to continue to follow all of the action on CBS Sports HQ, CBS Sports Network, and elsewhere. You should too. We will be back on Monday to get your March started right. All the madness from across college football and so much more. And you can follow him on Twitter at Tom Fornelli. You can follow him at Danny Kanell. You can follow me at Chip_Patterson. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank
See
you.
ya.